no visit to this town where we are tonight would be complete without a quick look at the railway, because if ever there was a railway town, it's Crewe. Well, we're here tonight at the Earle Street Stadium, formerly the old LMS Sports Ground back in the old days. Now, though, known as the home of top-class banger Formula 2 and Formula 1 stock car racing. Formula 1 racing here tonight at Crewe Stadium, and we also believe that there's one or two bangers about to support the programme. Not too often you see Formula 1s and bangers mixed, but that is the formula here tonight at Crewe. Well, if you haven't seen Crewe before, be prepared for something of a surprise, because it's a very fast, pacey circuit. As you see, a shale surface that's been well watered. The weather around here has been pretty good, and the tanker has done most of the watering on the track there rather than the heavens above. As you see, we have Brian Tuplin along here tonight, one blue top. There are quite a few stars listed because this is a World Championship qualifying round. That tends to pull them in the chase for World Championship points. Well, a strange car with a familiar number there, 471. Bobby Burns, not in the usual vehicle. So we don't know what the Londoner's doing there, but he's brought out what would I'd imagine to be an old car or a spare, but it looks as if indeed he's borrowed someone's car, because the numbers on there look decidedly temporary. Nonetheless, 471 is Bobby Burns' racing number. I can't imagine anybody else turning up and using it. Bobby Burns then in a strange car here tonight at Crewe. Of course, you're all saying out there it's the one he raced in the 1975 season or whatever. Anyway, Les Spencer's car there, the white top, 98. A fair field of cars out for this first race. Brian Tuplin and Rob Lane there together, two blues. The track here is well in excess of 400 yards in length. In fact, in the old days it used to be about 470. I think it's down now to about 430. The reason is that the centre green used to be a cricket pitch. So the track shape is certainly very distinctive. High banking and a super fast circuit here, as Richard Ainsworth will show, I'm sure, in Heat 1. Well, last time the Formula 1's here, the first Formula 1 of the meeting here at Crewe, successes went in heats to Peter Faulding, Dave Beresford, John Wright in the consolation, 128 blue top from Long Eaton, 212 Frankie Wayman in the final, and John Lund won the Grand National. Ainsworth had a third place in the consolation last time out here at Crewe. So there you can see the huge sweeping bends of this Earle Street Stadium. Up to 10 years ago, the home of the Crewe Kings Speedway team. And if there's any Speedway supporters watching tonight, this was the home track of riders such as Phil Crump and also John Jackson, and of course was the home of the old 1972 British League Division 2 champions, the Crewe Kings, all those years ago now. Nowadays, though, it's just stock car racing. Dave Mason in view there, steward here and clerk of the course. And Dave also, of course, a contributor to the various stock car magazines. In the background, 73 just coming out, and that was Rob Cowley. And Dave Mason having a chat with Frankie Wayman. So Smiler here tonight. We look forward to seeing the 212 car out later. Well, now Bobby Burns has been joined by Peter Faulding out on the track prior to this Heat 1. Faulding straight up from blue to superstar this year on the first gradings of the season. Last time out here at Crewe, he won his heat, but then failed to get into the top 3 thereafter. Well, we've got a very healthy crowd here tonight at Earle Street for tonight's stock car racing. The open-air grandstand just in front of the old pavilion getting well filled up. Well, while the stand's been filling, so the track has. We've got a good field of cars out now for Heat 1, including the world champion Stuart Smith. So the blues come down on the track. Notice we have someone out on the track, and also the starter up on his podium at the same time. Rob Cowley, 73, going past the camera. Next to him, 317, Nigel Harty, down to blue. I wouldn't like to say anything about the starter, but he looks like he's got his own supplies in for the evening. Stuart Smith just going past. Interesting to see a St John's ambulance man getting a good vantage point. Well, they said that the first meeting here was quite chaotic. Certainly in action, nothing else, I assure you. Just in the actual action, the typical stock car action. But I wonder whether the St John's are getting rather alert here now. Anyway, Stuart Smith out on the grid for Heat 1, staring at the back bumpers of Peter Faulding and Bobby Burns. As usual, having to start right at the back. He's got that large aerofoil well fixed in position tonight. Interesting to note, he still hasn't got his sponsor. So the green flag's down and Heat 1's underway. It's Les Spencer and Rob Allen leading off 98 and 293. In the meantime, Rob Cowley trying to put the bumper in already. Richard Ainsworth's up on them. And Warren Jackson, 104, has spun out. Cowley getting the bumper there from Ainsworth. As you can see, high-speed action here. Look at Smith going through. It's just like he's sliding all the way. Just a controlled power slide. It's all turns virtually, this Crewe Stadium track. Pete Bashford in view, 107. The water really bringing the steam up there on the inside of the track as Smith casts his way through the opposition. Burns already behind him, and Faulding. So he's got past the first two rows of reds, the two star drivers, or superstar drivers rather, in the shape of Peter Faulding and Bobby Burns. And Smith well away, already looking now at the stars and the blues. 98, Les Spencer leading. Second place, here's the yellow top car, and that is the car. Indeed, it's got a flattened number, so we can't give him in for the moment. Third place is Pete Bashford, 107. Not far behind, Nigel Hardy leading off the group of blues. Already Smith is working his way through pretty well. The yellow top pulling up by the fence there. Coming down the home straight now, the challenge coming through on the inside, Les Spencer. And 35 is in second place, and that's Ken Brown, that yellow top, with the very flattened number on the roof. So it's 98 from 35, 107 third in Pete Bashford. Already Nigel Hardy through into fifth. And off the turn, 98 still in control from 35. Spencer, the white top, holding off the challenge here in Heat 1. The last time we were here, or last time the cars were here, we weren't here. This is our first trip to Crewe this year, but when the Formula Ones were here for the first time, it was red tops virtually all the way with heat wins, or at least drivers who are now white tops, or red tops rather. Well, Les Spencer first, Ken Brown second. We apologise for the fact that at the moment we're just carrying things off one camera. Unfortunately, our two trackside cameras have got pretty well filled in the opening race, so we'll try and sort that technical problem out as the meeting progresses. In the meantime, we stay with our main overall camera. Les Spencer, 98 out in front. Second place now, Pete Bashford, with Ken Brown taking a momentary trip onto the infield. So Spencer a good 30 yards clear of Bashford. Brown is third. Then Smith is now fourth placed in the car number one. Well, last time we had Formula Ones on Screen Sports, Stuart Smith had heat, final and Grand National success at Long Eaton. That was for the second successive meeting. And there's no doubt whatsoever that the Maestro is in top form this year. There you see him in fourth place. Bashford in second in 107, and indeed Smith now up to third, chasing Ken Brown for the third place. Bashford second. There's the gap up to first, and Bashford in trouble. Living up to his name there, Basher clouting the safety fence around that turn, leaves Spencer clear out in front, and I think the only real challenge for Spencer is going to come from that gold top car. Well, I was saying gold top, it's all over gold now, with Stuart Smith losing his sponsor this year. Looking for the gap on the inside of Bashford, and now he can't find it, so he's going to make one. Puts the bumper in. But Bashford's holding on, those front wheels clinging to the inside line. Smith can't find the way to prize him off the racing line. Will he try the outside now? No, once more back in with the front end. Trying to spin Bashford out the way, but the man from Brentwood in Essex is holding onto that wheel pretty tight. That the race for second place. Les Spencer will be the next victim if Smith can get past, but Smith's slowing up there. Now regaining his composure, coming in now for another challenge on Bashford. But Smith really in a class of his own in current form, as he has been many times, but certainly compared to last year, he's even better. So it's Spencer and Smith's finally through as Bashford virtually pulls up on the back straight. So can the white top hold out the world champion now? I somewhat doubted over this 16-lap race in the Formula One stock cars Heat 1. Les Spencer first, 98. Second is number one, Stuart Smith. Third, 107, Pete Bashford. Fourth, Ken Brown in 35. Then comes Nigel Hardy and Richard Ainsworth. And it's a long, long way back to the next car, and that's Brian Tuplin. And Smith's through. No bother at all there for the world champion. Carves his way through, past Les Spencer, into first place, and now he'll just be looking to lap his way through the field. He's moving along that blue top now, putting the bumper in there, sits on the 412 car, and that is the car driven by Dave Tapping. So Smith now has plenty of daylight, has virtually the length of a straight before he comes to the next back marker. 3 laps to go. Smith just stamping his authority on Formula One stock car racing yet again. Smith proving to be the man to beat as ever. He does say if he gets the sponsor, he'll be racing even more this year. He has been in semi-retirement in recent years due to a bad back. But this is semi-retirement. What's full-time like? Stuart Smith at the top of the sport for many years now, too many to count. I think it was 69 when he won his first ever world title. Won it yet again last year at Bellevue, after coming from the 5th row of the grid. A marvellous feat. And certainly when you see the way he just brushes aside even the red tops, let alone the yellows, blues and whites, it's no wonder the man carries that #1 racing number. Smith well clear, and the rest a good way behind. Pete Bashford second by about 50 yards behind Smith, and then about 60 down to 3rd place. Smith wins heat 1 at a canter. No problem at all there for the world champion. Stuart Smith first. Second, Pete Bashford in 107. 3rd place now, looking down the order, goes to Nigel Hardy in 317. 4th goes to Les Spencer. 5th goes to Richard Ainsworth. This, of course, unofficial. And 6th place, I think, going to Ken Brown. We'll await confirmation on that and come back with the full top 8 qualifiers for the final from Heat 1 as soon as we have them. Pete Bashford getting 2nd place there, but really couldn't do anything to stop Stuart Smith. We'll now try and get the cameras sorted out and see whether we can get all 3 in action for Heat 2. Well, let's take a look now at those official top 8 qualifying positions. First, #1, Stuart Smith. Second, 107, Pete Bashford. 3rd, Nigel Hardy. 4th, Les Spencer. 5th, Richard Ainsworth. So he's the first red, barring Stuart Smith, in theory a red, to get into the final. 35, Ken Brown, the local man, getting in there. 33, Peter Faulding. 155, Brian Toplin. 104, Warren Jackson in 9th place, just missing out in the cut, along with Bobby Burns in the unfamiliar 471 car. Those two have to go through the consolation. The top 8 qualify for the final. Cars out now for Heat 2. There we have Frankie Wayman on the right of the picture with the Silver Roof National Points Championship winning car, or at least a derivative of it, even if it isn't the same vehicle. Next to him, 260, Dave Beresford. Now in the current gradings, Wayman's back on top, with Beresford down in 4th place. And a good field of cars in this one as well. Willie Harrison, #2 out there. Rod Faulding, 36. You saw his son in the first race. 306, Mick Noden, I also noticed there. Nigel Wharton's out. He's been going well in the new 422 car. So we should have plenty of action here in Heat 2, which I don't think will be quite such a cakewalk, as you might say, as the first race was for Stuart Smith. Yellow's still out. They're going round for another rolling lap. Someone broke ranks there. Terry Cooper's leading them off in 221, with Shane Dorrell and Mick Rogers just behind. Dave Taylor and Dave Cusack in the yellows. Nigel Watson, Stu Young. Also Rob Bradsall, Glenn Daft, Pete Lancaster and Terry Jackson. Those are the whites and the yellows. There's some reds in view. Willie Harrison, Mick Noden, Nigel Wharton and Rod Faulding. Good to see Mick Noden back with his old familiar red rooftop. Had to limit his racing in recent years due to business commitments. In the meantime, 128 John Wright's pulled off onto the infield. The car's going around now on this rolling lap once more. And there's John Wright's car abandoned on the infield. He had to replace that spoiler after he lost it earlier in the season. John, sponsored by the bike shop down in Long Eaton. Yellow's still out there, starter, not satisfied with things. The car's just about halfway down the back straight at the moment, and indeed the whites just entering the bend. And the green's down. Yes, the race is underway. So now 16 laps of Formula One racing in Heat 2 here at Crewe. Terry Cooper leads off in 221. Mick Rogers 244 just behind. Yellow's coming through. Terry Jackson over the ex-Stu Smith car, complete with the Super Stu motif on the roof. Willie Harris and Rod Faulding. I don't think we've got too many blues in this one, just Mike Shirley and Mo Smith. Nigel Wharton slow away from the start, already in trouble, not too far ahead of the leading whites. Terry Cooper from Mick Rogers is the first to third place Shane Dorrell in 3.71. Dorrell just out of shot there, but he's not too far behind. Fourth place is the other top car. I think it might be Bradshaw. There's Mick Noden going through. In the meantime, there we have first and second. 2.21 Cooper from 2.44 Rogers, then Dorrell and Cusack in 5.35, in fact it is. And he's now through into third place past Shane Dorrell as the cars come piling down into the turn. Well, a real battle there between Jackson and Mo Smith in 51. 4.85 just going around the outside as they disappear into the distance. It's a long way from the home straight to the back straight here at Crewe. Just take a look there as they go, as the cars go down into the turn. Huge bends on this sweeping Earle Street Bowl. High-speed racing. Indeed, in its day, this track was in the Guinness Book of Records as the fastest speedway track, where the bikes used to average about 50-odd miles an hour. One of the other problems is flying shell, obviously, on the turns. Looks like the cameras are managing to keep themselves out of trouble a little bit more this time, so we can give you the low-level shots. In the meantime, Dave Taylor coming through on Mick Rogers in 2.44. Rogers, the current leader, with the problems for the other whites. And Taylor now showing up well in 1.36, through into first place. Already closing in on Pete Lancaster's car. There's Pete Lancaster. We saw him lose both axles at Sheffield not so long ago, but he's up to yellow nonetheless. But getting lapped now by Dave Taylor in 1.36. Nigel Watson's just pulled off to join Terry Cooper. So there goes Taylor in the yellow top 1.36. I do think Dave was blue in the last gradings. Looking down through the field, Mike Shirley going past, Willie Harrison. But Taylor, well clear at the moment in 1.36. Looking down now for second place, it's a good way behind. And indeed, second place is now 1.56 Graham Blundell. So Blundell's coming through well. Blundell 1.56 in the second. Rob Bradshaw is just being headed off by Mike Shirley. Willie Harrison, Rod Fowling, Dave Beresford and Frankie Wayman just following now in front of Mick Rogers in the 2.44 car. There you see Harrison, number 2, plus the chasing Reds. Wayman at the back of the pack just behind Beresford. Mick Rogers in the meantime spun out and he's taken Mo Smith with him. So while Smith tries to withdraw the car from the fence, I think that's going to be a bit difficult. The race continues. Walton just going past Shane Dorrell there. Terry Jackson not too far behind. But there is the race leader, Dave Taylor, closing in now on Glyn Daft, the ex-Banger. Or was it Bomber driver down at Long Eaton? I think it is Bombers that they run down there rather than Bangers. So Taylor, 1.36 leads. Second place, 1.56. Graham Blundell. There you see Blundell, the purple body car with the red roof. There's Blundell going through past the tail ender. Third place currently, Rob Bradshaw with Willie Harrison in fourth. Mo Smith's out of the car. Certainly got a face full of shale during that race. In the meantime, the pressure coming on Wayne Jackson now. Terry Jackson, sorry, in 4.85. Taylor coming through on the inside. Graham Blundell's now got a couple of back markers to work past to try and put pressure on the leader. He's past one of them now, with Jackson the next one. Glyn Daft clouding the fence. And Taylor not too far behind. Just look at the power that really is used to the full on this Crewe circuit. These unlimited engine cars, unlimited formula at least, really pulling in the power here at Crewe Stadium. Dave Taylor leading, 1.36. The challenge not yet coming from 1.56 Graham Blundell, going into the closing stages of this race. So 1.56 Graham Blundell in second, third is Willie Harrison, fourth is Dave Beresford. And there's the race for third place, Harrison and Beresford. Willie Harrison suffering a mild heart attack last year that nearly ruled him out of stock car racing. Been around the scene since the sport started in this country back in '54. Took him all those years though until the early '80s to capture his first ever world championship. Dave Taylor first, Graham Blundell second. But it may have taken Willie a while, but at least he got it. That's more than many men have done in this sport. First, or rather one lap remaining into the final 400 100-odd yards of this race. Dave Taylor holding on in 1:36. And indeed, he's going to make it all the way to the line. It's going to be a win for the yellow top. 1:36 comes in for the win. Second place is 1:56, Graham Blundell. Looking for third place, that went to Dave Beresford, I think, on the line, with fourth place going to Willie Harrison in number 2. Fifth went to Frankie Wainman in 2:12. Looks like Mike Shirley picks up sixth in 3:95. We await, of course, the official verdicts on that race. Looked fairly clear-cut, though, with Dave Taylor convincing winner coming off the yellow top handicap to hold out the flow of the reds. So Dave Taylor opening up with a good win here at Crewe Stadium, coming round on the lap of honour, with Graham Blundell held out in second place. Blundell finally getting his man, but after the checkered flag had dropped. So Dave Taylor now joins Stuart Smith on the roll of heat winners here at Crewe. The official result now of Heat 2. Graham Blundell was marked down. He was a lap, in fact, behind. So first was 1:36, Dave Taylor. Second, Dave Beresford, 2:60. Third, Willie Harrison. Then fourth, Frankie Wainman. Then came Mike Shirley, Rob Bradsell, Nigel Wharton, Graham Blundell marked down right the way to 8th, just qualifying. And the two men missing out, 9th and 10th, Stu Young and Terry Jackson. Congratulations on the win there, Dave. Just holding off the Reds, weren't you?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, they were just catching up near the end. There was kept checking mirrors and they kept passing the back markers, and it just kept them at bay, like, you know.
That man that seemed to be in second place, I mean, Graham Blundell, in fact turned out to be 8th, so he had a bit more room than I think maybe you thought.
Oh, crikey, I nearly overdid it then. I was watching him coming up and could have blown it.
What's it like, the racing on this track? It doesn't see too many Formula 1 meetings, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's a good track, really. It's very fast, and it's just off the smooth point, so it keeps you busy at the wheel, and you weaving away with your arms all the time, all the way around, really. It's just about pretty fast, really. It's very interesting driving here.
What about your chances in the final?
Well, if we get a good position at the start, I think, and keep out of trouble. It seems to be going fairly well. It's keeping me distance on the other red tops fairly well, so we'll keep your fingers crossed. So
you'll be looking out for a return to blue, a rapid return to blue after being...
Oh, yeah, I should think so. Yeah, I think I've just got enough points for blue now, so we'll look to be farther back next month, I think, so that'll keep us a bit more busy being at the back.
Best of luck. Thanks very much, Dave Taylor.
Thanks very much, yeah. Ta.
Well, I mentioned earlier how good it was to see Willie Harrison back on the track after his heart attack. Well, it's good to see that 100 back out. Harry Smith, they thought he'd be out of racing. They discovered that he had diabetes earlier in the year. It ruled him out of racing, but he's now adapting to obviously a controlled diet and indeed returned to racing at Aycliffe in mid-April. This is the first time we've been able to track him down since, though. The man that really starred at the end of last year, and certainly a man who knows how to put the bumper in, and a man that really does bring home true Formula 1 stock car racing. Harry Smith from Colne in Lancashire, number 100, and those speed marks on the number are lived up to. He was blue for a long time at the end of last year, just turned red, I think it was, for the Christmas meetings. But certainly stock car racing needs its characters, and watch out for that man going through the field, number 100, Harry Smith. Seems like that surname Smith just seems to breed speed. Anyway, Harry Smith lines up then in this race. Heat number 3, by the way, John Wright, who pulled out before Heat 2 started in 1:28, has been allowed to go in this one, so you'll be able to see the blue top 1:28. Star of the April cover, I think it was, of Stock Car magazine. Or was it May? Anyway, the car's coming through the yellow tops. 536, Bob Baker, the highest numbered Formula 1 driver, by the way. That's an absolutely useless piece of information. That's as far as the numbers go at the moment, 536. Ian Higgins there, he's got that name, Captain Chaos, still on the side of the car in the Wayman-built car, but he's winning enough races now to make that name into a bit of a lie. So Ian Higgins, alongside Jeff Nichols here. Ian almost all the way through from yellow to red on the first gradings of the season. Bert Finnegan at the back, the 83 points champion, lost that title last year a fair way down the order. Sporting a wing this season after resisting the temptation all through 84. But Finnegan indeed went well in the last meeting here at Crewe. He had third in this heat and second in the final behind Frankie Wainman. Just moving up on the outside of Finnegan is John Lund in number 53. John, one of the top drivers at the moment, second in the current points championship. He won the Grand National last time here at Crewe. Neil Porcorny up the front, always a one to stumble over. Neil Porcorny in car 74, that name. Anyway, 143 on the outside of him, and that is the car of Hodgson, not too sure of his first name, I'll read it off the car. And indeed, it's 149. They're going to have to go for another rolling lap, and so now we know the number. It's John Layton, 149. Start are not happy with that. They have to go around for another rolling lap, and that's a good way here at Crewe. Certainly a vastly different proposition to some of the tighter tarmac ovals, such as Hartlepool and Aycliffe. From one extreme to the other. I can tell you that racing from Aycliffe's coming up fairly soon here on Screen Sport. Indeed, it could possibly be even as soon as next week. So the green hidden behind the yellow as the cars start off once more. Neil Picorni in 74 being marshalled into position. His white top colleague on the outside, 149, John Layton, taking up his place. They are the only two white tops out in this one. We've got something like 6 yellows behind, and then an equal number of blues, no, 7 blues in fact, with John Wright out there. 2 stars and 2 superstars, 4 superstars in fact. So the green finally drops and the race is underway. Yellows coming through 180, snaking slightly going into the turn. That was the car of Glenn Lord. Blues now in vision. And on down to the reds. In the meantime, though, Picorni has got already a 30-yard lead over the second place car, who's just spun out on the turn. That was the car of John Layton, 149. So there's Picorni, white top currently. As you see, he's got yellow ambitions. Indeed was yellow until the current grading period when he was downgraded due to lack of points. Second place, looking across the track, looks to be number 52. 128 getting into problems. Jeff Nichols also spinning out on the turn. Picorni closing in on his fellow white top John Layton. So Picorni heading into the turn. Looks a little vulnerable, doesn't seem to be stamping his authority as much as he might hope. And indeed it's Howarth in 52 in second place. Craig Howarth to be precise, as the Reds build the speed up going into the turn. In the meantime, that's the view on the opposite side of the track. Neil Picorni in 74. Coming in now, Jeff Nichols in 215, the back marker. Picorni getting himself into trouble, almost holding back there. Didn't seem to have the confidence. Harry Smith bouncing his way through the turns. He's already passed Finnegan. Ray Tilsley just behind 85 alongside John Lund. In the meantime, 149 just coming in off the centre green. Finnegan can't get close enough to put the bumper in on Smith. In a case of a bite of bitten there, I think. Smith sending the back end round around the turn. Finnegan just behind, Lund behind him. And just up in front of those, in fact, the leading red top at the moment is Joe Jopling in 452. Jeff Nichols just about to be the next victim of Neil Picorni. And 411 Phil Wheelson's tangled with 213, and Wally Pissam tangling with Neil Picorni. So there's real problems in that turn now. That sends their number 52 through into first place, Craig Howarth. So Wheelson parked in the middle of the wreckage there. Wally Pissam's car on the outside, 434. He's just about getting back into the race. In the meantime, Finnegan and Smith still having their own private battle down the field. And in fact, they're not too far off the race lead. There's something inside the half lap now. And in the meantime, Smith is putting in the challenge on Joe Jopling. There's the leader, 52, Craig Howarth. Howarth first, going in on Jeff Nichols now. Was the yellow in second. Ian Higgins is third in 29. Picorni, I'm not too sure if he lost the complete lap or whether he recovered for fourth place. There's the first place. Second place going through, the yellow top car, 182, and that car is the car of Mike Cheatham. In the meantime, Harry Smith getting involved in a metal sandwich there with Bert Finnegan behind and Wally Pissam in front. .52 Howarth from 182 with Ian Higgins challenging Cheatham now for second place, putting the bumper in all the time. There it goes again, Howarth, or rather 182 almost stopping, and Higgins is through on the inside of Cheatham for second place, just getting back onto the track after the wheels were on the infield. Cheatham looking to retaliate, but 52 Howarth does look vulnerable now with Higgins closing in. When we covered Skegness right back at the start of the season, they ran a special whites and yellows races, and yellows race rather, and Higgins was a winner in that. Finnegan and Smith still battling it out down the order. Finnegan looking to try and put the bumper in on Smith, but they're gradually going through the field in that to some. Higgins first, second is Cheetham, third is Howarth, fourth it appears to be John Wright. And as those Blues went into the turn, it's not too far back. Ian Higgins through now. Higgins in first place, number 29. Jeff Nichols has seen off 2 leaders already trying to lap him, Neil Picorni and also Craig Howarth. Now can Ian Higgins do it, or will he fall victim? Higgins looking for the inside line, and he's found a way through. 182, still in second, Mike Cheetham. Third place, Craig Howarth. Fourth now is Harry Smith. Fifth, Bert Finnegan. So Higgins knows he's got a couple of star drivers not too far behind. Not star drivers only, superstar drivers as well. Harry Smith, a star, but that 55 car driven very much by a superstar. Looks like the cameraman got caught by a shell there. Anyway, Ian Higgins leads in car 29. Higgins first, and second place would appear still to be Mike Cheetham in 182. Third place Harry Smith, fourth is Bert Finnegan, and fifth is car number 34, Mal Brown. So coming down to the closing stages of this Heat 3 of the Formula 1 stock cars here at Crewe Stadium. Finnegan and Smith, the two red tops lurking behind that leading pair of cars. You can see the gap as they come into the turn. Finnegan hitting a patch there, just spinning in slightly. Cheetham in their sights now, the second place man in 182. Ian Higgins something like 30 yards in front of Harry Smith. And Smith looking for Cheetham now. There's 182, the yellow top second place man coming under the pressure from Harry Smith. 1 lap to go now, just 1 lap left for Harry Smith to come all the way through. He's past Cheetham. Finnegan giving 182 a rough ride as well. John Lund is just behind in 53, and then Mal Brown in 34. In the meantime, there's the race leader, number 29 in Higgins, coming off the final turn. Higgins is going to hold off the challenge, and once more the Reds are headed by one of the men of the lower order. Ian Higgins picking up a vital win there in the Heat 3, picking up some very useful World Championship points. Second place, number 100, Harry Smith. Third place was 55, Bert Finnegan. So there was nothing the 155 cars could do there. Ian Higgins holding on beautifully there for the race win in Heat 3. Third place went to Finnegan. Fourth place to John Lund in 53. Then came Mal Brown in 34. Mike Cheetham in 182. That's as far as I'm prepared to commit myself at the moment. We'll wait for the official verdict after the Graham Blundell lesson in Heat 2. It could change, of course. But Harry Smith driving a fine race there, but couldn't quite get through to catch that number 29 car. Ian Higgins. Well, a lot of work being put in there on the fence. In the meantime, let's take a look at the official result of Heat 3. First, Ian Higgins, 29. Second, Harry Smith. Third, Bert Finnegan in 55. John Lund just behind him in 53. So a good bunch of cars there just behind Ian Higgins. Mal Brown, 34, getting a good 5th place. Mike Cheetham in 6th. Joe Jopling, 7th. Mike Greenwood just making a cut in 8th place in 330. And the two men missing out in 9th and 10th. 536, Dave Cusack. And number 10, or 10th place rather, was number 85, Ray Tildesley. So the red top failing to qualify. We're going to have a couple of interesting cars in the consolation at this rate. In the meantime, the work on the fence continues. Well, Harry, it's good to see you back on the track. Obviously, it must have been a crushing blow at the time when you learned about your diabetes. Yeah, it came as a bit of a surprise, really, but I hadn't been feeling too good for several weeks, you know, so I'm glad to find out what it is, really. Didn't take you long to get back, though, did it? Well, no, I came back a little bit too soon. I think when I went to Earle, I was exhausted at the end of the day, and I've lost interest a little bit, and that's why I haven't been out for the last couple of weeks. What does it mean, though, at the moment? What kind of things do you have to cope with? Obviously, racing a Formula One's a demanding thing enough. That's right. Well, I've just, you know, to eat a little bit of extra energy before I do something like racing, and the doctor said, hopefully I should be all right, you know, so I'm just getting used to it and getting balanced out, and I think I should be all right in another month or so. Well, you mentioned there that you maybe lost a bit of interest. You also had a sponsor problem, didn't you, at one stage? Well, that's right. I've still got the same problem, and that's another reason why I haven't been racing very much. I've got a possible sponsor in the pipeline, but as yet, nothing signed up. So the message is there if anyone wants to lend their name to you? Certainly, yeah. How do you view things, though, this year? How much are you going to race in the present situation if you don't get a sponsor? Not much? Well, I probably do. I'm trying to sell the car, actually, so if I sell the car and I haven't got a sponsorship, obviously I'm retiring. If I don't sell the car, I intend to just do a few important meetings and just do the best I can whenever I come out, you know. I enjoy it. Of course, the World Championship round does tend to take people out, sure, that's... You know, I've got a good lot of lads that work on the car, and they've worked on it all week, repairing the damage from Bellevue.
I got a nasty crack at Bellevue 3 weeks ago, and I was bruised all over, you know, so that's another reason why I haven't been out.
But there again, you seem to have your finger on the pulse. I mean, last year, we've been in this sport, what, since about April, May last year. And then suddenly we saw you going through the field like you were on rails at times. It must have been very pleasing to you. Isn't the temptation there to try and get in as much racing as possible?
Yeah, sure it is, but I think a lot of people don't realise the amount of effort and dedication that goes into trying to do all the fixtures. And I'm a fairly busy fella, you know, and I just haven't got time to be involved as much as what I maybe would like to be. But if I could get a sponsor, that'd probably alter that, so I'll have to hope for the best.
Well, let's hope you do. Let's hope there's a viewer out there, maybe. We have secured sponsorship for stocks in the past. Let's hope that there might be someone heading your way, Harry Smith.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much indeed.
After that break into the world of Bangor racing. Plenty of reds in this one. Mick Noden out there. Keith Riley up to red now, also there. I don't think we saw him in the heats. Warren Jackson, 104. I think also there's Ray Tildesley, just on the outside of Noden. Dave Tapping goes in the blues in 4-1-2. Should be a very competitive race in this one. 16 lap rolling start. Bobby Burns at the back in the unfamiliar looking 471 car, not the usual white car with the spoiler on top. Keith Riley up from blue to red. And this one, I think that's the first time we've tracked down Keith in his new Star Guys, having come up from A grade, the blue tops. Talking of the blues, Mo Smith showing his number pretty prominently on the front of the car, number 51. There also Rob Cowley, number 73. Just behind him, Jeff Nichols, number 215. And at the back of the blues, 412 Tapping and 140 John Russell. Reds coming up now. Ray Tildesley, Mick Noden lead the stars off with Keith Riley and Warren Jackson just behind. Warren Jackson 104 up from blue along with Riley. Behind them, 108, Steve Evans. And at the back, Bobby Burns, the lone superstar in the consolation. So you've got to watch for Burns coming through, although it is in a spare car. Well, the green flag's down. The consolation race underway. Leading off Neil Picorni, 74. Second, 371 Shane Dorrell. Car tangling up already, number 149. 434 Wally Pittham's collected Bob Baker. And the yellow top doing his best to take out the cameraman on the turn. So in the meantime, out in front, number 74, Neil Picorni. 3 cars standing witness to the earlier crash. Bob Baker, Wally Pittsam, and 149. The yellow flags around, being waved around the circuit. You can see it. Their cars must slow down now and run single file. The problem, I think, is that 3-car pile-up, and also Stu Young. Although the gate has been attacked, yes, as that car went in. The gate, yes, Wally Pissam just getting out of the car. Wally up from white top up to yellow. Fair bit of damage to the car as he went there into that post, but he's lost the wheel on the outside of the axle, I think you'll find. In the meantime, the red is out, the race is being stopped. So it looks like one of the drivers must be in some difficulties for the reds to go out, so this race will have to be restarted. The reds being shown to the drivers. End of the first attempt at the consolation. Well, indeed, that wasn't Wally Prism. It was Dave Atkinson, not 434, but 334. He's taken out the pit gate, which means that the race was unable to continue. It was unsafe there with 334 parked out there. And Tony on the camera, getting a bird's eye view of that incident. Thumbs up, nearly wasn't, no, he was nearly in the crowd. And let's take a look at the shot coming from that camera. Yes, we're lucky to still have him there, I think. I can tell you, by the way, that Tony's one request is that he ever gets wiped out by a car, that it's actually carried by the other cameras. Otherwise, he'll come along to haunt us afterwards. In the meantime, the work continues on the gate. There's our intrepid man down there on the line that gets his brief bit of for stardom again. In the meantime, back to the serious stuff. The car's back out on the track for the second attempt at the consolation. Stopped in the very early stages of the race, so it's a restart completely down the way with full grades being observed. So it's effectively a restart right from the start again. So Pokorny lines up alongside Shane Dorrell, 74 and 371 on the front row of the grid. Yellow's still being shown. As the cars come round, this is the vital moment. Will the green drop? Start is pretty impassive, and indeed he's not having anything to do with this. They're going for another rolling lap. He's not happy with that. Someone moved. Someone broke a little early there, I think. So we're going now for another lap. Looks like somehow Ray Tilsley's got himself well involved with the Blues there. Got a couple of Blues behind him there on the rolling lap. Pokorny and Dorrell still taking up position on the front row of the grid, and the car's coming to a halt on the back straight, so it looks like we're going to have a third attempt at the consolation. This time the green flag drops and the race is underway. Pokorny leads off, Shane Dorrell in second place, Mick Rogers 2.44 in third. Fourth is Rob Allen in 2.83. Plenty of dirt coming up there, and yes, there's the pile-up. Stu Young, I think they're Glyn Daft, Mo Smith, and one man escaping, Dave Tapping. Oh, beautiful action there. Stu Young left as the other two get back in the race, and it looks like Mo Smith is going to cut off a complete corner, so he will probably get marked down the lap. Neil Pokorny looking now at Glyn Daft. Daft on the inside line, Pokorny around with no problems. Behind him, Shane Dorrell in second place, Mick Rogers in third. Oh, pile up there. Looks like, yes, we've got Steve Evans in the thick of it. 104, Warren Jackson, and also Ray Tilsley in 85. In the meantime, Buster Watson, number 59, and Bob Baker in 536. Having a brief altercation there on the inside of the track, and Baker getting back in the race with a plume of smoke coming out of the exhaust. Well, real problems in that turn. That red top car still left up there. Shane Dorrell slowing down, going around the outside line very carefully. So Pokorny in 74, I believe, is still the leader. We wait for confirmation from the starter. And indeed it is. 74 who leads, just going past Wally Pissam, the tail ender in 4.34. Real problems there on the pit turn. Pokorny then safely away in first place. Mick Rogers has spun out now on the turn. Looks like Steve Evans is going to be able to get the car back underway there in 108. In the meantime, Glyn Daft about to be lapped again by Neil Pokorny. Daft managed to get past Pokorny, and now Pokorny's looking for a way past again. Ray Tilsley getting caught in the sandwich there. Yellow going out wide. Wally Pissam and Mike Shirley in view. There's Keith Riley mixing it. But Pokorny's hanging on in 74. Getting the signal for first. Second place. Indication going out, I think there to Bob Baker, or it could be Mick Noden. Noden going through very well. Buster Watson at 59. Slowing up there as Noden comes through on the inside in the red top 306 car. Pretty well spread out at the moment. Another field here in the consolation. Neil Pokorny, number 74. Well clear, indeed, virtually the length of a straight clear of the second place man. And Glyn Daft going out to the fence, taking out the Armco, and 5.36. Bob Baker attempting to take out the cameraman on the turn again. Certainly does seem to be the target area at the moment. Ray Tilsley, Bobby Burns 471 just behind the 85 car. Steve Evans behind 108. Steve as low as 59th in the recent gradings, but retains red due to lack of meetings. There's Glyn Daft spinning out into the inside, up from white to yellow for the current period. Bobby Burns challenging Ray Tilsley, looking for a place in the final. Oh, he's clouded the fence. The handling of the car a little overdone there as he came out, just could not hold it in on the racing line. It just went out too far, but bounced back in beautifully for him. So Burns showing up well now in the 471 car. Starter looking up now to race control, I think, for inspiration at the moment. First place goes to Neil Pokorny, second place Bobby Burns 471, then Steve Evans, Ray Tilsley, Mick Noden. Glyn Daft is lapped, and it looks as if it's 5.35. Dave Cusack, who's in a good place there, Nigel Watson, also Bob Baker, and 3.28 Keith Riley. I think they could just about be shading it into the top 8. 5-lap marker now going out to Neil Picorni. He's got plenty of talent though behind him. Picorni's 74 indeed has been headed now by Bobby Burns. Burns through into first place in the 471 car. There you see him, the red roof man without the spoiler. Indeed. No, indeed, that's Ray Tollsy there, 85. Burns is a bit further in front. There's McNoden now looking for the way past Picorni. And getting into trouble there is Rob Lane along with John Russell. Nigel Watson going through. There is a suspicion that one or two of those reds are a lap down. 2 laps to go, and the signal goes out to Mick Noden. Indeed, it's Noden in 3:06 who leads. So Evans, Tildeley and Burns are a lap down and in serious trouble here. Mick Noden, the leader. I thought he was second at the time of Picorni's problems, but Noden confirmed as first now in the closing stages of the race. The 2-lap marker indeed coming out now for Mick Noden. Noden first, and second place is Neil Picorni. And that's as far as the starter's prepared to commit himself, and that's as far as I'm going to go as well. In the meantime, Rob Lane's going down the centre green, minus a tyre on the rear wheel. Mick Noden coming off the final turn. Wally Pittham making a bid for freedom. Indeed, 1 lap to go. Mick Noden still with another lap to complete. Nigel Watson pulling off onto the infield. Buster Watson from the northeast amid plumes of smoke. Down the back straight for the final time. Mick Noden coming in for the win here in the Formula 1 consolation race. Bobby Burns in the meantime getting in further trouble off that turn. Looks like Burns might not make it in the spare car. It's 3:06 who wins. Mick Noden in first place. Looks like Picorni may have held on for second place in 74. But that race living up to most consolation races' reputation, not the easiest one to read. Mick Noden the winner. Of course, the drivers looking really for their last chance to get through into the final, trying the best they can to maintain progress. Mick Noden securing that progress with a win in the consolation. He goes through to the grand final to join the other 24 drivers already there. We'll carry the list of the other qualifiers as soon as we have them from race control. Mick Noden, though, from Rugby in Warwickshire, coming in for the win. Good to see him back up to red top. We interviewed him a short while ago here on Screen Sport, and he did say that he'd love to race more, but he's just far too busy. Does seem to be the problem. 1 or 2 drivers, they put on a fine display on the tracks, just can't find the time to get around. Let's now take a look at the official result for the consolation race. One or two little surprises in here. First, 3:06 Mick Noden. Second, 5:36 Bob Baker. Third, 74 Neil Picorni. Then 5:35 Dave Cusack. 51 Mo Smith. 3:28 Keith Riley. 7th, 85 Ray Tildesley. And 8th, Steve Evans, 1:08. So Red's getting through in 6th, 7th and 8th. Just missing out, though, 9th, 2:15 Jeff Nichols. And 10th, 4:71 Bobby Burns. One car tonight didn't look too familiar.
No, that's one that I borrowed for the night. My own one. We blew it up at Bellevue, and we're waiting for the bits to come from America.
It must be a problem, though. Well, you're running a Chevy, I take it, under the hood.
Yeah.
The parts on those must be quite frightening in expense.
Well, they've gone up 4-fold to what they was 3 years ago because of the dollar.
It's not a cheap sport, is it?
Definitely not.
So whose car was it tonight that you were racing?
A chap called Dave Wadsworth.
Oh, Dave Wadsworth, yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't quite familiar to you, though. So 2 10th places, you don't make it through to the final. But on the other hand, it must be a long way to come, just for a couple of tenths up from Ilford.
Well, it's being that it was a qualifying round, we decided to come, and unfortunately we didn't do very good.
Really, the gamble didn't pay off, did it?
That's right.
Now, I read somewhere about the system that you have with this. You're based down in Ilford, but your car and all your mechanics are based up country, aren't they?
That's right, they're based at Denby Dow, and I travel up each week. They maintain the car, prepare it, and I drive up each week and drive it.
How long would you say before we see a real 471 car out?
Hopefully within the next month, but it all depends on how quick they can get the bits from the States.
In the meantime, it's borrowed cars, is it?
No, that will be the first and last one that we borrow.
So what are you going to do? You're just going to pull out, or have you got a spare?
No, we're going to watch it and enjoy it.
So now the car's out for the grand final here at Crewe as the light begins to drop rather rapidly. Hopefully this time we won't lose the track lights, otherwise we'll be absolutely lost on this one with the sun having been long gone. No whites out in this one. None having qualified through the heats, all a consolation. Plenty of reds, though, in this World Championship qualifying round. Harry Smith in view. And then we have the gold and silver roofed cars. Stuart Smith, #1, and Frankie Wayman, national points champion in 212. Smith already a heat winner. And indeed, let's just remind you of the race winners so far. Stu Smith in heat 1, Dave Taylor in heat 2, 136. In heat 3, Ian Higgins, #29. In the consolation, Mick Noden, #306. So a couple of reds, 1 yellow, 1 blue so far. Or rather, 1 red, 1 gold. Bobby Burns indeed does go out in the final, but he'll go out as a reserve. He's at the back of his grade after 2 10th places. The green flag drops and the race is underway. Neil Picorni out there in first place. And the field of cars come through. So Burns did get a place in the final after all. Ian Higgins in trouble there, though, heading for the infield. This certainly is going to be fast and furious. The point with the World Championship qualifiers is that if you get the points, you improve your position on the grid for the semi-finals. They are raced for, or they are started on point scoring order from the qualifying rounds. The more you got, the further up the grid you are. Ian Higgins taking another battering there from Willie Harrison as the cars came off the turn, or went through that turn. It's so long on the turns. Ian Higgins just skidding out. I think the dirt there coming up off the 29 car. Problems there. Beresford, Finnegan, Ian Higgins and Brian Tuplin all in trouble on the bend. It looks like Beresford's come off worst. He's losing most of the placings. Frankie Wayman there in view with Willie Harrison not too far behind. Nigel Wharton also in there in 422. There's the race leader, Neil Picorni. Got one wheel on the curb there. He's getting himself in trouble, getting back onto the track. Higgins a lap down now, #29, challenging Picorni, trying to make up the distance and get back into this race. Second place looks like it's I can't quite see from this distance. Not in short anyway. Brian Tuplin, Mo Smith just behind them. As the camera moved over there, a pile-up just underneath the starter's rostrum. That's John Lund in trouble, and that was the other white top. There's Spencer, #98, down from yellow for this month. John Lund with a flat tyre, so his chance of getting any points here very limited, obviously. So Lund having his problems. In the meantime, the main thought will be where Smith is getting to. I can tell you how the shot at the moment. He's just behind Willie Harrison, down about 8th to 10th place. Finnegan going through on the inside of Mike Greenwood, or rather Mike Cheatham in 182. Rob Bradsell just behind as Finnegan tries to make up the ground lost after that spin-out, that multiple spin-out earlier on with Dave Beresford. Well, that car getting into trouble. Looked like Keith Riley, 328, just catching the tail end of a yellow. Finnegan edging past Pete Batchford in 107 now. In the meantime, there's the main battle. Stuart Smith with Nigel Wharton in view, just looking to put the bumper in. Hope you can get a feeling there of the speed there as the cars came off the turn. And Smith getting really in there. The sparks are flying. Smith's carving a route through on the inside. He's past Mel Brown in 34, now looking for a way past Wharton once more. Tried to use them to create a mass pile-up, get through on the inside, I think, there. Tilsley's just in front as well in 85 of Stuart Smith. The world champion gradually making his way through the field. Those two cars hugging the inside line. Mike Shirley just in front. There's Wayman. He's got the drop on Smith with Ken Brown just in front, #35. Mick Noden in front of that pack as well in 306. And Smith putting the pressure on the cars immediately in front of him. All action there. Ray Tilsley bumping into the bend. Smith getting stuck in now past Nigel Wharton. Tilsley is the next intended victim. There's a yellow top out there as well. I think it's Ken Brown. Oh, and there an agonising lead there by Ray Tilsley, getting caught well and truly there. Smith through, no problem at all, past Ken Brown as well in 35. Smith just cutting his way through the field. Mike Shirley, Harry Smith there as well. Now Mal Brown, 34. It looks like Ian Higgins is in the lead. He had problems early on. Might not have avoided dropping the lap. Keith Riley just in front of him in 328. There's Higgins. We believe him to be in first place. That would make that man second, Pete Bashford. Third place, I think they're going to Rob Bradsell. Wayman's not far off, though. There's Stuart Smith. He's got himself clear off the cars. Nigel Wharton going through Mal Brown. Harry Smith there at 100, just in front of Murray Harrison, or rather Willie Harrison, number 2. Of course, Murray is 97 driver. And Ian Higgins having his problems there, slowing down a little when trying to put the challenge in on Keith Riley. He's got a couple of cars in front now. He's past Riley. He's now got to take on Ken Brown in car number 35. Seeing to put the bumper in just as Riley is as well, but he's found the gap there, I think, Higgins. And just edging through. Just caught him as well. Harry Smith's pulled off. Indeed, the cars on the infield at the moment, there's a great number of them. Richard Ainsworth's out. Bobby Burns is out, but Finnegan's out. Dave Beresford's out. Les Spencer's also out, and also Blue Top. I can't quite see in the gloom on the infield. Bashford 107. Trying to follow through after the race leader, Ian Higgins. At least that's the situation as we read it. Mick Noden and Frankie Wayman, they're going through on the inside of Bashford. And indeed, it's Noden who's first, I think you'll find. But Wayman, oh, they've got caught up, Wayman and Noden, and Wayman's over. Well, Wayman before the meeting said he'd be happy if he could keep the car on 4 wheels for the meeting. He's not been able to do it. Getting tangled there with Noden, and the yellows are out, being waved very vigorously. And indeed, that was the race for first place. Ian Higgins was a lap down after all. And it was Noden and Wayman on there. And indeed, it looks as if Ian Higgins had indeed had first place, but pulled out on the bend, leaving Noden and Wayman clear. Wayman's in trouble, though. The car overturned. They're having problems getting the Silsden man out of the car. Yes, he's out. You just see him in the background there. So the cars go around in single file. Wayman disgusted, Mick Noden tangling with him there. Wayman just annoyed. Gives you an ideal opportunity, of course, to view the underside of a car, the lattice work build, and back goes the car. Looks like a load of fuel's poured out onto the track, or it could just be water out of the radiator. And the famous 212 spoiler well and truly bent there. Cars continuing now in single file. The yellow's now steady rather than being waved, so they now have to take caution. In the meantime, the JCB's on the circuit on one of the turns. In the meantime, that is first and second. Pete Bashford first and Stuart Smith second. So Smith well on his way to the second win of the night. And the JCB of Jim Barry going off into the infield. It's certainly convenient if you want to get cars off the track to have that around. Ian Higgins embedded in the back of Dave Cusack's car on the turn. We'll tell you, by the way, that Jim Barry's in the best position of all to have decent plant equipment on the track, because he indeed runs a plant hire business. And indeed, it's one of the pride of Crewe that when they run their mixed meetings involving the Formula 2's bangers and their local hot rods, that they can get 12 races through in, I think, 2 hours was the claim. Not bad going. I think it might have been even 3. 12, 2 hours, every 10 minutes. Possibility. So it's Bashford from Stuart Smith in the grand final here at Crewe Stadium. And the green flag's down, so now Bashford's got that unenviable task of holding Smith. Already he's got the bumper in. Bashford just pushed out the way, no problem at all. Smith straight through. Took him, what, quarter of a lap? Once the green had dropped. Stuart Smith leads. Pete Bashford second, 107. Third place. It looks like a good race for third. Third's Ken Brown. Fourth, I think, is Rob Bradsell. And fifth, Brian Tuplin. Nigel Wharton also in there with Ray Tilsley just behind the 2 yellows and the blue. But the maestro, Stuart Smith, well clear out in front. The light definitely falling here now at Crewe. Ray Tilsley and Nigel Wharton, I think, are going to get involved in a fascinating battle. In the meantime, Stuart Smith just glides home out in front. Ken Brown spinning out at 35. So there's Smith out in front, number 1. That's a good way back to Bashford, and then an even further gap back to the third place car, which is now, I believe, Willie Harrison. Willie Harrison through into third in number 2. So I wonder if we'll get a complete 1-2 here. Smith from Harrison, 2 laps to go. I think that is the board that's out. It could be 2 or 3. Don't have a perfect view of the starter from where I am. So the cars come through. Brian Toplin getting stuck in there as Wharton puts the bumper, and Ray Tilsley having problems controlling on the turn. Mike Shirley's in there in 395 and sparks fly. Tilsley's taking a trip out to the fence. Keith Riley comes through in 328 on the inside. Indeed, that was the 5-lap marker that was out. 4 now being shown to Stuart Smith. And that'll soon turn into 3 because Smith's coming off the top turn now. Mike Shirley trying to take Nigel Wharton off the racing line. Keith Riley keeping in contention in 328. And so there it is. That's Toplin, Wharton and Shirley in view with Riley just behind. There's Bradsell 265 just going past the camera in front of that pack. And Wharton's been taken out. Finally it happens. Wharton up on the fence. Mike Shirley goes away. The wheel breaking off the car. Mike Shirley seemed to turn around as if to say, that's what I told you I'd do. He drove off then once he dumped the man in the fence. In the meantime, Stuart Smith not far behind that pack, so he's lapping pretty well through the field. 1 lap to go now for Stuart Smith. Smith leads. Pete Bashford has been headed, I think, by Willie Harrison. No, Bashford is second. So 107 Pete Bashford set for some good points here in the final. For the second place, worth 20 points in ordinary meetings. The checkered flag's out though, and the man in for the win is Stuart Smith. So Stuart Smith wins heat and final here at Crewe, with Pete Bashford second in number 107. We'll await the official results of the grand final here at Crewe, but nothing can stop Stu Smith here tonight. It's very much like Long Eaton all over again. Just doesn't matter what the talent is. Stuart Smith, once he gets the bit between his teeth, is unstoppable. Well, we have the official result now of the grand final here at Crewe. First place, number 1 Stuart Smith. Second, 107 Pete Bashford. Third, Willie Harrison in number 2. Fourth place, 306 Mick Noden. Then came Rob Bradsell in 265. Keith Riley in 328. Mike Shirley 395. Brian Toplin 155. And the 9th and final finisher was Ray Tilsley in 85. So 1 or 2 big names failing to go home with any significant points at all from this World Championship qualifying round. So we could see 1 or 2 interesting positions on the grids for the semis. But Stuart Smith, heat and final winner here at Crewe, reigning pretty well unbeaten. Well, unfortunately, that's about as far as we can go here at Crewe. As you can see, the lights are a little on the dim side, and unfortunately, we've been beaten by the lack of light. So that's where we'll leave it, with Stuart Smith winner in the heat and final of this Formula 1 World Championship qualifying round, and the world champion sending out the message to the rest of the drivers that gold roof belongs on the number 1 car of Stuart Smith. Good night from Crewe Stadium. We look forward to seeing you again next week for more stock car racing. Goodbye.